Welcome back to another episode of Related Conversations, the group chat on steroids. I'm your girl Melanie. We're here with Drew, Lonnie, and Kat. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for coming. And today we are talking about self-esteem. Let's start with a question like you know how we do. What gives you confidence?
I would say for me, pursuing a purpose.
Mm.
Um, so like for me, I noticed I started a nonprofit in 2021, and pursuing a purpose and a goal helped me to build my confidence in different areas. So it helped me to build my confidence with talking to people and lower my kind of social anxiety, and it helped me in different ways to just build a confidence, and also just kind of realizing like you are the only person in the world that's like you.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, nobody can be you but you. And you have to be the best version of yourself. And so pursuing a purpose, pursuing my growth and healing and everything that comes along with that is pretty much what helped to improve my confidence
So you kind of like suffered with like not being confident before you started doing that,
all my life. All
but
my
like
life.
not if you feel like sharing, but like what hindered that part then?
Um what hindered my confidence prior to then?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Battles with severe eczema,
Mm-hmm.
battles with my appearance, struggles with, when what they don't tell you is that when you're an adult,
Mm-hmm.
everything you went through as a child affects you as an adult. So I was severely teased in school, made fun of for different reasons. That then turned into me shutting people out and shutting down. Like I would just not deal with other people. Not, I wasn't confident in who I was, how I looked, what I brought to the table. And because of that, it then led me to, just not be comfortable in myself.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I pursued being comfortable in my own skin and learning to love myself that that confidence came with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like.
I will agree with that, and I'll piggyback off of that. And like growing up, I didn't carry a lot of confidence myself, and I always used to say, growing up looking like Steve Urkel in the height of Steve Urkel was never a really good thing. Didn't work out well for me. I was short, skinny, black, glasses, smart. You knew who I was. So my confidence came as just like as I became an adult. And I understood that, like you said, no one else in the world is like you. So I became more confident in who I really was. Like my confidence now stands in a very specific place. I can stand in a room with anybody, and I will still sit here and tell you not a single person in that room is like me. I'm now more confident. I'm proud of the person that I am. I truly have, I learned who I was. I felt like for so many years, I took what the world gave me as to who I was and what I looked like, and I responded a lot to what outside views were. So now you can't tell me a single thing because I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of. I know what I have accomplished. I know what I'm capable of accomplishing, and because of that, I now have the confidence in myself that no one outside of me can shake that now. And I feel like it really did take for me to go into like what was it for myself, like just going on a journey alone and just being okay with that, like, yo, I'm actually pretty dope, believe it or not. I let the rest of the world tell me that I wasn't, and I believed it.
Hmm. See, I come from a different side of things than like you guys, right? Like even like I'm saying like I've always been a confident person. I think I don't remember a time in my life where I wasn't confident, but I comes from like just a deep belief within myself that I'm going to do it. And there's nothing that I can't do, right? And I know that sounds very cliche, but that's not something I was able to verbalize because it was just a given. It was like water is wet, the sun is fucking hot, and I'm going to do it. So I never lacked confidence in that way, even though I may have had insecurities, like speaking back to Kat, like when you had said, like with your parents when you were younger, I kind of had something like that too. And it's weird because I had insecurities. Like I never wore sleeveless shirts ever. Do you understand what I'm saying? I never
I was
wore them. When
there.
I got to middle school, I did not like my arms. It was just like, you just couldn't tell me nothing. But with that insecurity, I still never felt less than. Like that didn't, it was separate from the value that I have of myself. So like me, I'm not tied to my appearance when it comes to my self value, my self confidence. But I can acknowledge that I have this insecurity, right? And then one day, like Drew said, it was my 21st birthday. And I remember this because all of my friends are coming up. We're going to the strip club. I had somebody's car. I didn't know how to drive. He trusted me with it. Fuck it, we're going, right? And I'm like, I'm going to the strip club. I got all my fucking beautiful ass friends. I'm about to go here with these half naked bitches. And I literally was in the dressing room. So I think it was Rave or Deb. I was poor. Leave me the fuck alone. But I'm in there and I'm just like, why the fuck are you not wearing this thing that I wanted? It was like this really sexy halter top thing, but I would have been practically naked. And I said, fuck it. This ends today. And I bought me a little black bikini top and I put that shit on with a little black mini skirt. And I just, in that moment, I just said that shit to myself and I never looked back. I don't know how to explain it, but like, I think it is because I didn't associate my image, my physical appearance with my person. And just to speak a little further, like I had a child years ago. My body hasn't been the same since. There's been some great improvements. Shorty got ass, all right? But she also got some other shit that she didn't have before. And even though I don't like it, didn't like it, I'm still a 10. Do you understand that? That's so like that confidence for me is just it's unshakable. There's nothing another person in the entire world could say to me about me that's going to make me change what I think about me, because who the fuck are you? Like,
I feel that.
That's where I'm at
I
now.
totally feel that.
That's where I'm
But
at
I
now.
think that also comes with time and growth. Like, to what you said, you didn't wear like sleeveless. I didn't wear shorts.
mm,
A lot of times I'd be outside with shorts and like tights on, and it'd be 95 degrees out, and people are like, "What the hell is wrong?" And she got on tights under these
that
shorts.
shit
Like
is
I
crazy.
wouldn't wear shorts, but it took time for me to get to a point where I was comfortable enough with myself to say, "Fuck what other people think." Because at the end of
Yeah,
the day, I'm the one that has to be comfortable in my skin, not them.
Huh?
right, right.
I mean, I think,
Lonnie?
like, yeah, the confidence thing, I think I come from a different space with that because just like what you're mentioning, like your body pre-baby was different, but it's like phases, right? Like when I was younger, I was like super fit, and I attributed that to like I'm just naturally fit. I didn't think about the fact that like I dance like three, 4 times a week, and then during show season, you're 5 times a week. I didn't attribute it to
Mm,
dance. It's just like tennis, or like the random other things I would do, like frisbee club. Like I was just like, I'm just fit. Like, and then I would go to the gym on top of it for depending on the kind of piece for endurance stuff. So like very fit all throughout like 3 years, but also that too is a mind game a bit because you leave this section of life and move into this next section of life. And I'm in college, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? Not freshman 15, we're going freshman 30. Like I'm gonna double up on something, and that's gonna be it. My grades are gonna be 1, and my body fat percentage is also going to be like top tier. Wagyu. So that's well fed. That the difference was I wasn't dancing all the time, and I wasn't, and that is something that I was very confident about in my abilities. So that helped shape my confidence all through then. So now I'm in a phase where I'm like, well, the body isn't embodying the way it used to body, and like I'm wishing that I was fat then how I feel like you know what I mean? I wish like my perspective on that,
yeah.
it's just like I wish I was worried. I wish I could really be upset about something then. That was not a thing.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just phases. I think confidence and ability is different from like confidence in appearance, maybe, and like how you're saying, like
Mhm.
there's different insecurities that we carry that other people don't see. Like, you know, like usually your friends are there like fix your crown, like there to like help support you. So like
Mhm.
you might not feel super secure in this, you know, particular aspect, but you are seeing it, not everybody else. And to your point, Kat, like I mean, I feel as though people talk about it more now, you know, childhood trauma or any sort of trauma. It's not always childhood. It could be
Mhm.
like, you know, some sort of PTSD, whatever things that happen to us along the life, you know, like a rock, you're being like slowly shaped and sculpted as you move along and you have to like address those things. And I don't think that wasn't a thing. I feel like a lot of parents and guardians and caretakers addressed within themselves growing up. So there wasn't those tools for us to like be like, oh wow, this is why I feel this way about that, you know, thing. So
I want to ask you a question because you said like frisbee club, right? Clearly, you wasn't around no niggas going to frisbee club because what the
That
fuck
part.
is that, right? Right? And it's just like, yeah, that's different. But so I guess my question is for you because like despite everything that we all went through, like I grew up around every people who look like me, people who I'm expected to look like this community, and you didn't. You had a heavy frisbee club type of influence. You understand, like. And the beauty standard and all of that shit is different. So, like, do you feel like even when you were fit in the way that you wanted to be, do you feel like that brought any kind of issues, or just not even issues per se, but like something to the forefront that maybe you were different or that you needed to stay a certain way because you were fitting in with these people? Did you feel like you couldn't like be on par with what they had going on naturally because you were different? Like, did that play anything into it? Because I feel like it would.
oh, probably for sure. It's part of why my hair is like straightened a majority of my life. Part of it was just because it was easier for dance. Like for the purposes of like you're in buns all the time, it's easier for me to have like a slick back bun if my hair is straight and I don't have to use as much product once it's, you know, straightened. And I
Mm.
also like relaxed my hair for that reason for the majority of my life. I don't relax anymore. Probably about 12 years now I haven't relaxed my hair, but it's
Okay.
Off the creamy crack.
Hello.
um um you know, I guess we can call like 11 years. COVID year doesn't count because I was doing all sorts of fun stuff with my hair, not relaxing it, but like playing with curly stuff. But yeah, to like you know, not to digress too much into it, but yeah, I mean, growing up where like you were the very clear minority in a very suburban, you know, community, it's one of those weird, like you don't. I was a part of a Black and Latino Achievers program. And
Mhm.
so, but that was in high school, right? So like the rest of my education and stuff was, you know, shaped around a certain framework. But also we had a black superintendent for a majority of my schooling. I like, there were things that were in place and you know my mom, who you know Melanie's met, but she has a very strong personality, very strong Leo level sense of self.
Mm.
So that is always like a tricky one too, because I was always very much, because of all of the um you know athletic stuff, I you know it's feel like the world has changed a little bit now, whereas like nails and makeup and all this stuff that's not show related and a part of like showmanship in like a theater space, like everything is almost like a theater now. So like people have like wicked really cool long nails for like gymnastics. I was just watching a video about that today. None of those things were a thing that I had to contend with as far as like beauty standards for keeping up with anything. It was very just the space that I lived in. The dance community is pretty, it can be really like clicky, but also it can also be a really great community and depending on the person. And I've always felt really tight knit within that. So I always had a level of comfort and family within that space. And that also existed in the environment that I went to school in. So I didn't ever feel too much like the outside person, but like there are moments where you notice it. Like, I feel, back to Kat's comment, I feel almost more so though for me as an adult entering relationships, I experience that differently now than when I was in high school because I didn't think about it much in high school. Now I like think about all the other factors involved, like have you dated other Black women, like have you, like all of those things that I don't think you really consider in normal conversations had you been in an environment where you're dating people that look like you know what I mean? So I don't think from
Yeah,
the educational aspect it wasn't really an impact, the social aspect wasn't a huge impact, but from like a dating aspect now versus then, it's definitely impacted, who who I think is perceiving me a particular way and how people perceive me. I've had people make comments more so as adults than I have ever as a school age kid.
do you think and everyone, this isn't just for Lonnie, but like I think like what you're saying personally, that comes with one education, like if I'm a lot of kids who go to, especially a lot of Black kids, 'cause I'm always talking when I'm speaking about Black people in general, unless I point out some other shit, assume I'm talking about us, okay? Because
Fair.
pro Black over here, Black fans, all that. But when we go to schools that are predominantly white, right? I feel like we lack certain education, especially if we're not just going to like the white school. We're going, our life is surrounded by them, like you're in dance, you're in frisbee cup, you're, and not even just you, but it's like if I'm going to these different extracurricular activities and I'm living in these neighborhoods and then I'm also going to school, even though I would be like a Black person, I'm lacking knowledge when it comes to my culture, my history. And so I think it builds like a certain kind of trust with them. And it stops us from being able to see the images that, the rest of the world sees because of like the media. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. Like, how much does media consumption like impact you consciously? Because I feel like I'll say this, whereas I've never really I don't compare myself to other women. I don't, because like I said, who the fuck are you? I think my general lack of concern for other people, and I don't mean concern as in care, I mean like nosiness. My general like concern for other people really helps me to have that confidence, because I don't look at someone else as a what is the word I'm looking for? Oh my God, competition. Jesus Christ, I am not talking today. Right? I don't know. I've been doing this all day. But like, I don't look at another woman as like competition. I'm not comparing myself to her, because at the end of the day, I'm good. Like, okay, I like this about me. And just because you come and you have this thing that maybe other people would think is better, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I wish I had that. Like, bitch, I'm amazing. That's how I feel in my head, right? But that doesn't mean I haven't been impacted by certain things like the media. You know what I mean? And it's just like, right now there's the whole thing like, oh, Black men are dating interracially like crazy, and it's like, like I generally do not date Black men who date white women. Clearly you want something that I will never be, and you should go find that. It's not over here. However, I end up in that exact fucking situation, and I really, yeah, nigga, you know the fuck I'm talking about. I end up in that exact situation, and it was something that I did not catch early on. I usually always ask, first date, do you date white women? Because that's a deal breaker for me. And somehow this one person got through it, and we rocking, building. Found out later on that he did. And now I noticed, like, when it comes to me, like doing something like wearing my natural hair, I've got no problem wearing a fro, braids, getting a silk press, doing a twist out, a braid out, a bun. It doesn't matter. But when I'm dating this man, because I know this thing that I believe about these types of Black men, and some of that does come from the media, because I don't have 1,000 examples of Black men who fuck with white women that I've dated and can reference to. So I'm getting it from somewhere, right? But now I have a hesitation, like, oh, are you gonna like this? Are you gonna feel a way about this? Because you didn't date a white girl, you used to date white girls. I'm not that in any form of that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even fucking support that. But
But
here
I
I am being affected by it. So how much does like the media's consumption like impact you consciously when it comes to like yourself, your self-esteem, your self-image, the choices you make in your life? Drew, I'd like to bring you in here. Hi.
Um, The media is horrible when it comes to self image. We know that. The media will try to paint a picture of what they believe is ideally aesthetically pleasing or quote unquote say beautiful or attractive. Like social media has like not just social media but media as a whole has kind of like carved out what they would say the standard definition of beauty is, which is dead wrong. There's beauty in everything and there's beauty in many things. And I feel like media can cause you to ignore beauty in yourself only because it's not exalted that way. That's why they say representation matters. Like you want to see people who look like you, people who most resemble you, and you want to see them spoken about in still that same high manner. But unfortunately, society has painted a very particular picture as to what they believe. Oh, well, this is what attractive is, and they do it on both on the male and the female side. Like for argument's sake, I'm 5'9" at best. I am not 6 foot.
True.
We already shut up. We already understand what the arguments are
5'8".
for men under 6 foot. Lion, don't
Everybody's
start your shit.
5'9", right?
Don't start your shit. Don't start your shit. I will
You
pull my ID out right now. I
they
will go
made a
get my
song
last
about niggas
physical.
like you.
Exactly.
No, it's
But
not a good song. Don't say exactly.
no, nobody said it's a good song. But what's the argument though? A lot of men who are not 6 foot, we're now fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah,
Nobody said anything except somebody else. We didn't say it. Not even the people that we're dealing with said it. Somebody outside of it said it. And now this is now an uphill battle that we now have to fight. I look, the Lord knew if I was 6 foot plus, I'd be a problem in these streets. This is why He made sure that I wasn't, and I can accept that. That's fine by me. But also, like we were saying earlier, Kat, like you said, when you start to look into yourself and see what you bring, I can walk around and say now I don't need to be 6 foot. I don't need someone's outside definition of what attractive is to me. I know I'm that nigga. If you don't believe that I'm that nigga, guess what? That's your loss, not mine. I'm still that dude. I don't need to be a certain definition of what somebody on the outside said. Hey, this is what it should be, and then all these doors open, which is still a flat out lie. Just because you might be 6 foot or have a certain complexion or a certain eye color, or certain hair color, doesn't unlock certain doors in society for you. It doesn't. I feel like it's a lie to start with, only to start sticking people into boxes. But I feel like media as a whole has just been playing with people's own idea of what beauty really is. And like they say, as cliche it is, beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
I
so
think
let me ask
like
you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, because I just want to ask. It's a personal question because
Go ahead.
fix your fucking face.
Go ahead. Go ask me some stupid shit.
Nah, so remember, all right, so just full disclosure here, at one point I online dated. Yeah, I made the bad decision. Fuck it. But me and Drew, we're besties, right? So I would be sharing my screen while we're going through the people who liked my profile and shit. And
As
while
my
we're doing
friends
it,
do.
up he's 5'8", he's 5'7", and I would just be swiping fucking left because it's not even an option. Like
Bro, so rude. I'm out here defending my fellow my short kings.
But wait, so my question though, because I'm not just saying that to like put you on blast, but like that was as we're adults. So if we had been this close when we were teenagers or early 20s, because we've been friends for a long time, and I don't know when you became comfortable, you said as an adult you became more comfortable with just who you are altogether. So if we had been doing that same experience before you had gotten comfortable, do you think that that would have impacted our friendship or your view on me or what you thought my view on you was?
It could have.
Mm-hmm.
It most definitely could have. Like and I'll be honest, like, because there have been plenty of times, I've heard other women. I've been raised by women my whole life, so I've heard these types of conversations. And there was a point in time where I would hear a woman's response to a man who wasn't 6'2". He wasn't 250. He didn't have long, like, none of this is me. And I really used to let it affect me at some point in time. Like, well, is this something I have to strive to? My height is something I cannot control. I have no control over that. That's a bullet I got to take. And I used to let him hit. And
There's
it
like
would
a knee extending
shut
plastic.
the fuck up. No. I didn't seen the story about the man that got lifts in his knees, and good luck on his recovery. But I'm not about to go that far. I'm not.
I'm sorry.
Because to me in a situation like that, okay, bro, my problem is So you can make whatever choice you want to make for your life. That's your own personal decision. Me personally, what the way that I viewed that decision was, you really let the outside world get to you. You really made them make
Mhm.
you feel like you had to truly grow from something. Like you had to, like, for lack of a better term, grow to become acceptable. And that's upsetting to me because you didn't find a way to find yourself acceptable. You couldn't look in the mirror and say, I don't care what the rest of the world says. This is who I am as an individual. And if just my vertical is an issue, he let that be his only issue and he let that sit there with him
Yeah.
instead of finding a way for himself to say, I don't have to be this for me to be all of this. And I understand the position because, in all honesty, a lot of people in this world at this point in time just fighting for acceptance. And
Mhm.
I feel like that's what it really was for that gentleman who made that choice. I know the surgeries exist. There's lifts in people's shoes. When I wear Tim's, I feel taller, but it really don't help. It really don't help. You've got to learn to be more comfortable with just the person that, and honestly, the person that God made you. There's a reason why he made you the way that he made you, and you haven't found the value in that yet. Don't let the rest
Amen,
of the
brother.
world put a value on that for you.
Amen. Yes, say that shit.
To
I think
Drew's
like
point,
the oh,
I feel like I'm sorry. I feel like social media does play a point, and something Drew said made me laugh about his height because he was saying if he was 6 feet, he'd be outside.
I mean,
And
a
I
hot ass
tell
mess.
people, social media really has messed people's image of themselves up so bad because you have girls literally dying on surgery tables for a bigger butt. And
Oh my
hear
God.
me,
Uh-huh.
or bigger chest, whatever the case may be. Here,
Uh-huh.
I'm walking around with a whole lot of chest and no ass. And I used to say all the time, God knew what he was doing. Because if he would have messed around and gave me a big ass, I'd be outside in a thong and nipple tassels tomorrow. So, with that being said, he knew what he was doing. There was a reason
Not
he
the
made
nipple
me the
tassels.
way that he did because he knew I wouldn't know how to act if I had both
Mm-hmm.
of those things at once.
Cat,
So,
give
but
us a
it's
little. Give us a little.
yeah, like I'm just saying, like I'd be outside all day, every day in nothing, like no clothes, butt naked, just walking down the block. So but social media has made it that it just pits everybody against each other. Oh, you're not light enough. You're not dark enough. Your hair's not straight enough. Your hair's too nappy. Instead of it just being accept who you are. You know,
oh
like
Yeah.
growing
I
up
think
for
Go ahead, Lonnie.
no you sorry, Kat, you I didn't want to cut you off.
it's okay.
No, all I was gonna say is like that was funny because I was thinking in my head, I was like, Drew's comparison of height is like the equivalent of like a woman's BBL. Like that's like basically those two big body like changes that one would make in order to like yeah. But I don't know.
And
I
you know what's
feel
crazy? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I thought you were
all
done.
right. No, I feel a little bit differently about it. It I think media had more impact and input on that years ago. I think it had more input and impact on that when we were growing up, more so than like these kids growing up right now. There's
I
been so
disagree.
much, really? I mean,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
growing up with a lot of like whitewashed media, and it's like kind of almost doing the switch where it's almost just like over cross cultural as opposed to like seeing certain pockets at certain points. It's like, because from my perspective, like doing marketing things, I'm always looking out for like, are whatever company that I'm working for, are we being representational of the people that we serve and the people we want to make sure that we're not excluding because we do serve them. Our intention is to serve all people. Um, I guess depending on the business within a certain like tax bracket, right? Like, but it is to serve all people. Like, your intention is to not exclude people where your bottom line exists. So for
Mm-hmm.
me, like watching a lot of media, you're seeing a lot more of like what the US looks like. I don't even think really what internationally the world looks like. I think a representation of pockets of what the US looks like, but it's almost like so overdone that it's not realistic. Like you're not seeing a full black family in a lot of cases. You're seeing like
But
like you're
that
seeing
is
like a
becoming a
mixed
lot
family.
more influential. Like that's becoming a lot more. So like there's always been media. We've always been like propaganda. We've always had things swaying our opinion, our influence, the way we view things, all of that, right? I feel like I don't think it's necessarily happening less. I think there's less competition. So when we were growing up, there, you know, of course, the white media has always been like the standard for everything, right? But we had a lot more things combating that. One, we had stuff that was there solely for entertainment, and I don't think you get that anymore. We also had a lot of positive views, so we had things that was teaching us, and I mean us, like black people, young people, these separate subsets of groups instead of one big circle of masses. We had different things competing against each other, so we were getting education in addition to the entertainment, in addition to the beauty standards, in addition to the boy bands and the sexy rock stars and R&B girls. We were getting an amalgamation of things. Now there is no separation of anything. So like you said, everything is inclusion. Everything has to have a black wife with a white husband and these mixed kids, and everything has to be in the same kind of home, and everything has to be in the same kind of clothes, and everything has to be accepted by everyone. And so that's pushed so much because it's in everything. Laundry detergent commercials, horror movies, dramas, romantic comedies, plays. It can be on fucking Pampers diaper boxes. You understand what I'm saying? And it's targeted to everyone on every level at all time. So the kids are getting, not even just the kids, the adults too, because we're not giving them motherfuckers a pass. But they're all constantly worried about the image, because that's all we're pushing now is this image of inclusivity. It's nothing deeper than that. And then you have the social media itself, with us as the citizens sharing these images, regurgitating these beauty standards, these thoughts. And it's like, if we're all talking about the beauty standard, it's the same beauty standard. You don't have them talking about how Asian girls should have silky hair with like blue highlights or whatever the fuck that was. You're not talking about how white women should be flat as a board with big titties. You're not talking about how the black woman should be moisturized with curly afros. Everybody has to be the same thing. So that's why everybody's getting a BBL, because we're all getting the same shit. And it doesn't matter if you're 15 or if you're 45, they're all doing the same thing. So I think I'm not disagreeing on the fact that I don't think it's so much that it's happening less.
I don't think I
It's
said I
just
was.
less divided, huh?
I wasn't saying that it's happening less. I'm saying it has less impact than I think it previously did. I mean, I don't like a part of it was for me anyways. I feel like we grew up in this like heroin chic, like everyone must be skinny, and I grew up around that within like the community that like I lived in. But like I already had that body type because of all of the things I was doing. I was very slender. I grew a bust pretty early. I didn't really have a butt, but I was very toned. So like I had a butt for what a teenager has. But like now I don't fit any of what we would maybe consider the beauty standards. But I feel like a lot of that stuff got knocked out of the park with the body well, even so-called body positivity, right? Because you can never be skinny enough or too or like big enough boobs or big enough butt. It's there's a lot of focus in different areas, but I don't think people are as influenced as they once were. I mean, if you look at the people going out, or maybe it's just where I go out, the styles of the kids are completely different. They're not going out in heels and tiny little outfits that we once went out with in college. They're going out in jeans and sneakers and like a crop top or like a bralette or something, like very casual. I feel like it's a very different, they're kind of like consuming it all and finding their own spaces, whereas we were trying to fit in to certain spaces. Or maybe that's, maybe that was just my situation.
No, you're not wrong, Lonnie, and I see what you mean, and I'll agree with you on this premise. I feel like now it's more. because we're in very much so an inclusive world now, everyone's got to be, we've got to account for everybody's feelings. Everyone gets a participation trophy. I feel like it's not harped on as much as it once was. You're right. There were specific buckets before as kids when we were growing up. But now we're in such a world where everyone has to be included. No one can be left out. That idea that they were once pushing has now widely expanded to make sure that we cover everyone's bases, to make sure that it isn't specifically fine-tuned into just this form or this form. We have to make sure that we account for the other people. Like, all right, so take back for us just growing up. Biggie's name was Biggie because Biggie was big. Biggie was still bad, but Biggie was big. Prior to Biggie, who did we have? We had Heavy D. We had hefty rappers. We had some big people.
The Fat Boys, like.
But
The Fat Boys.
never.
2020 rebranding to thick with all the C's. But yeah,
But
Thank you.
no, I'm
Big
glad you
butt,
swung it.
like-
2020 rebranding now. What do we get now? We get Lizzo. We don't get someone who's just on the other side of the spectrum. We get somebody who now pushes that end of the spectrum. Heavy D might have been a big boy, but he had moves, no doubt. Heavy D can move for a man his size. But Lizzo, and this is not just a harp on Lizzo, but of that generation now later, you're harping more on people truly just being who they are as they are. We're not even allowed to speak on the idea. Like my best correlation to it, in all honesty, is comedians. Comedians have supposed to be the one field where you can say almost whatever you want about whoever you want because it's all done with comedic value. It's not done to take jabs. It's not done to make it personal. It's with comedic value. But we are in a world now where now even comedians can't speak on some of the things that we once did. And body shaming is a very big part of that. When it used to just be them as jokes. They're not jokes anymore. That's a moral attack on somebody now, because now we have to account for these individuals. I don't feel like it's so harped up on it's not the Cindy Crawfords and the Tyra Banks and the Victoria's Secret models and the commercials that we were pushing when we were talking about body forms or body positivity. Now every body form has to be body positivity. Every form. We can't just stray away from it anymore. And I feel like our kids today are now being told to accept everyone no matter what they look like, no matter where they are, but yet underneath there are still undertones of look like this, dress like this, act like this, talk like this, but it's not an image anymore.
I think the only thing I've noticed that's very much like that is the like once you hit a certain wealth bracket, I would say, of celebrity, not necessarily just like your general person, the like all of a sudden you hit this certain tax bracket and now you've lost all the weight. So all of the things that came with what you were trying to stand for and speak on, and just take away some of the health parts of it, right? There's health stuff with everything. You can be skinny and be super unhealthy as well. Like, let's not forget that part of it. But I don't think, two separate thoughts. I don't think that comedians were always doing it. There was a lot of fat butt of the jokes things that we grew up with, and very few on the other side of it that making fun of someone on the opposite side of the spectrum that's like overly skinny, right? There have been occasions where they like use it as like caricatures, and yes, it's funny in some places, but I don't think it was ever. I think the whole point was to get a rise, because a part of that is how they deliver it to make it funny. But I don't think it was ever, I would say, overly accepted. It's just kind of like that was the world that we grew up in, and we're just like, okay, like that is what it is. I mean, it was accepted a little bit more, but it
was accepted because the standard was always to be skinny, and that was what it was. So when you were fat, there's no point in making fun of a skinny person, because according to the standard that's being put out there, that's what we're all supposed to be striving for. Why am I making fun of a goal that a lot of us can't attain, but it is the highest form? That's the way it was put out there. So I'm making fun of someone who can't reach that is, I'm not saying it wasn't wrong in the sense that it's hurting people's feelings, and then people take that and they make it so much worse, and they get so much mean, and it becomes personal attacks constantly. But it's like that comedy came from the world that we live in, and what is the purpose of comedy if it's not making fun of reality? It's not saying that it's untrue, but it's making fun of the reality. If that standard wasn't set there, then those jokes could not have thrived, because ain't nobody going to sit there and, oh, this is making fun of a skinny person for 40 minutes, right? It's like you're going to get some laughs here and there, but it's like it's not really that funny because I still want to be that shit. You know what I mean? And it is part of the shame. That's part of what makes it funny. You know what I mean? So it all comes from somewhere.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
immediately bonding to you now.
But I don't think it was always for comedic value. Like I like it contributed to comedic value, but it's hard to make a hard line for what is appropriate for a comedian. Comedians obviously are supposed to, as actors, are supposed to live in a space where they're able to walk through, or a writer, anyone who's like in the arts, really. Like you're using it as a tool to express like things that are currently happening or a very specific situation that's happening versus
Mhm.
like the actual reality where there are people that are hurt by like certain things that are being said, and then I would say the people that are consuming it then repeating it and making it difficult for these people to like live everyday life and feel comfortable. So like without having a strong sense of self, which is what we were talking about before with the confidence thing, if you don't have that, walking through and living with all of those kind of like being the butt of a joke effectively for an extended period of time, that would fuck people up, of course.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
product of the environment, I think we've overcorrected for sure. I would say like
For
you can't make a joke
sure.
about anything. There's a
Way too
problem.
far.
Like
It's
it's
quite annoying.
Can't
and
laugh at shit.
Actually, I would like to kind of pivot a little bit, because while image is absolutely a really big chunk of the pie when it comes to self-esteem, there are other things that we have to account for, right? So when it comes to like your other flaws, how honest are you with yourself about those flaws? And when it speaks in terms of like your self-esteem, like I'll say I'll volunteer here, I'm very self-aware. I am well aware that there are people who think that I'm probably too brash. I'm too harsh. I can be a bitch. I can, ignore. I'm very selfish in the sense that I always put myself first. I'm aware of that. It doesn't bother me. Right? It's not something I'm going to change because this person think that, but that doesn't mean I don't know it. I know like when my last relationship ended that he felt like I was constantly nagging him. While I totally disagree with the premise, because I wouldn't have to nag if I didn't have to ask you 50,000 times. I'm aware of how I came off to you and your vision, and I don't think that you're wrong. I just don't give a fuck to correct it, because why should I? You understand what I'm saying? So it's like with me having, I don't mean to say it that way, but with me having that self awareness, like I said before, there's nothing that someone can say to me that is going to make me change my view of myself. This is a part of that. You understand? So I'm aware of my flaws, and then there are things. It's just like, okay, and even if we went back to physically, there's stuff that people can say about me physically. It's not going to affect me because your words don't hold as much weight as mine. But I don't think that is the standard. And I don't think that I think a lot of people have a hard time even admitting in their head to themselves about certain things within themselves, like, oh, I'm inconsistent. I'm lazy. I'm not as smart as I can. I am incapable of doing this thing. I think we have a hard time saying those truths to ourselves and accepting them at the same time. So how honest are you with yourself about your flaws, and what does that do to your self-esteem?
I think self awareness comes with a level of accountability that most people don't have.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that.
to have that level of self awareness, you have to hold yourself accountable for your bullshit. And that plays a role in, okay, this is the type of person, okay, yeah, I may be lazy, but am I going to change that? What is my plan to change that? Or I may be selfish, but what am I going to do to maybe change that? Not because someone's saying I am, but because I notice, okay, this is impacting my relationships with other people or whatever the situation may be. Um, A lot of people lack that self-awareness. Like for me, I am I'm hard-headed. I'm not going to lie. I'm hard-headed. I like to do what I want to do, and I will tell you this is what I'm going to do. I don't know about you. You could go do what you want to do and have a good time doing it. In addition to that, I am, I guess you can say, for lack of a better word, anal. I like things done a certain way. I like to have things a certain way. I do like nicer things, but I'm not asking anyone to pay for it. I'm going out and busting my behind to pay for it. So I know that this is my level of self awareness as far as the type of person that I am. But at the same time, not everybody's going to they don't go back and reflect on, okay, how does the type of person you are mesh with the outside world? And are you willing to take accountability for how who you are is perceived by someone else?
I think
Mm.
it's interesting because sorry, it's interesting because of like how you both related it to like relationships, right? Like it's because at the end of the day, it's whatever is impacting you from getting to where you want to be. So like someone can call you lazy, but if your lifestyle is such that like lazy's working for you, then I guess like you've hit B. And now it's for other people to deal with whether or not they want to go along with that ride. Because this is all that is coming with that ride. Like I know for me, I'm a contrarian and I'm always late. So like
Always.
if I'm there early, it's an accident.
You're not there
Um,
Yeah.
early. Never there
I have
early.
been. I got
Count
to
on
your house.
anything.
I
You
got to your
were
house
late
early,
to
but
this
because I left.
tonight.
But I
Like you was late to your living room to sign on to this tonight. Like you will never be early. I think if you're early, it's a cone. It's
that's
them fucking aliens up in the sky. It's you.
I got to your house early like twice, and you were shocked ever. Yes, remember I was waiting outside your house. You're like, there was no way you already got there, and I was like,
I must
I'm
have died
here.
of shock because I don't recall.
One time.
You stopped to get food. No, it was twice, but like you stopped to get food because you did not think I was gonna get there. Um, but
I
like
remember that.
yeah, because I was coming from, but it's always because like I'm already on the move from doing something, and I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, I'm also a contrarian. A part of that like ends up being an issue where like you perpetually play devil's advocate, and so some people don't like that, some people do like it. My perspective on the matter is that like I don't know the answers to all the things, but like when you're so rigid about what your thought process is, like you lack the ability sometimes to get to a resolve that could be better than your initial thought, you know?
Mm.
So I play devil's advocate for things I like don't even believe in sometimes in arguments with people that I'm in relationships with. Just for the fact of the matter is just like we're gonna open your mind a little bit and maybe agitate you. But yes, that is
Oh, you're fun.
Oh, so you're the problem.
Right.
Okay.
Like, is it me? Am I the drama? Yeah, you are.
That's it. Okay, that makes sense.
very low maintenance.
So, okay. So with that self-awareness, right? Like you said, like if you're like, oh, you're lazy, but that's the estimation of someone else. But like, you can be lazy for yourself. Like, you have this thing that you've been wanting to do, or saying that you're going to do, or planning to do, but there's nothing, no push behind it but you. It's not like your boss is going to be calling you to do it. You're not going to, oh, my sister was waiting for me, and if I didn't do it, it's just you. You can be lazy for yourself because now 4 months down the line, you're still talking about that shit that you didn't do, right? But what I wanted to ask was like, with that being said, if someone does have this estimation of you, like what kind of boundaries do you set with those people? So it's like if somebody's saying like, oh, you're lazy and you disagree, or it's not a problem for you, but words affect people. Words affects people. We cannot disregard the impact that language has on our everyday psyche, our everyday estimation, our everyday influences. So what kind of boundaries do you set with the people closest to you, not just some random person on the street, but like your family, your friends, your mom, your brother, your best friend, your cousin, whoever it is, or whoever's it is, like what kind of boundaries do you set with those people that are supposed to be close to you, that's supposed to be your support, but they drive down your self-esteem? Like,
My
what do you
cutoff
do?
game is A1, impeccable. Like chop chop. Like
So you would
I
just like
have cut.
you would just cut off. It doesn't matter who it is.
If it gets to a point it's draining me and I feel like it's hampering my growth and my self esteem, you got to go. I
Mhm.
don't have time to sit here and argue with you about what you think. That's your perception. Fine, you are allowed to that, but I don't have to take it. So if
Exactly.
you want to think that, okay, you can think that. That's fine. You can think I'm a bitch. You can think I'm this. You can think I'm that. That's cool. But I don't have to sit around and deal with it. So I'll see you when I see you. Like I don't have to
Saying,
continue a relationship with you because you that's just convenient. Like at this point, I don't have time for convenient relationships.
Mm.
no,
So
Are you
like,
talking about like
I'm sorry.
romantically, or are you talking about like if a friend said something to you, if like you found like is it romantic or is it like friendship or family? Is it like all of? Does that include all of them? Because there are certain things where like I feel like if I met someone tomorrow and they were talking shit, I would feel very differently about like a person that I perceive to be a good friend. And I say talking shit because that's also maybe not the correct. Like, what would I mean? If someone was bringing me down energetically and it's a friend that I've had for a long time, I don't know, like I feel like I would like would you address it, Kat, or would you like is it like a quick like all right
If it's a
or
friend that I've had for a long time, yes. Um, with family, it I'll put it to you this way: I done cut off most of my family.
okay.
Mhm.
Um, and that's because it became a pattern. It's not something that was not addressed. It became a pattern. And so once it
Okay.
Mhm.
becomes a pattern, I'm not going to sit there and continue this pattern with you.
Okay.
But if it's someone I know is open to the conversation and I can actually discuss that with them, okay, I'm going to discuss it with them. Hey, this is what you did that I did not like. Now, again, if that friend makes it a pattern or that relationship or partner makes it a pattern, at that point, I'm not going to continue doing this
Okay.
because it's not in my best interest.
see, I'm with you, Kat. It's not so much of a cutoff, but it very much so is. I'm gonna leave you where you had me fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number of people in my life who still have access to me. We still talk. We actually still hang out. But they'll realize over time there's parts of my life that they no longer have access to. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's those parts of my life in which I feel you have become draining in, and you are a little judgmental. I know who I am. I am the king of. I'm gonna do that shit tomorrow. It's not that I'm not gonna do it today, because honestly, when I get up and get stuff done, I went and worked all day. I came home, I knocked out dishes, I did laundry, I cleaned up, I'm moving stuff around. When I get in gear, I get in gear. But if I'm really in the mood, I will do that shit tomorrow. There are some people who will have an idea of you based upon some of those interactions. And now that idea is all that's taken over. It doesn't matter anything else that you've done. It doesn't matter how long y'all known each other. It doesn't matter what the relationship is, because like we said, this happens with friends, this happens with families, happens with strangers, happens with romantic partners. I will leave you standing on the outside of where you fucked up and let you question why you don't know anything anymore. You made a judgment call. I didn't appreciate it. And now, because of that judgment call, you get to stand there and just watch. I don't have to share things with you. I don't have to divulge anything with you. That doesn't mean that we
Mm-hmm.
still don't have some type of a relationship, but your judgment is now going to change the type of relationship that we have. I tell my friends all the time, Mel, I tell you this all the time, judging, I'm judging you, and it's because I don't. It is not my job to judge people. That is God's job. I choose not to. I will tell you that I'm judging you, but I'm not really. But I wholeheartedly mean that. You're human. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to be emotional. You're going to do things irrationally. And I'm not going to hold that against you. But I've learned that there's some people that hold that shit against me. And once I've learned that, okay, you go chill there, and I'll just let you stand on the outside and watch. You don't have to be a part of my everyday anymore. I don't need to tell you these intrinsic things about my life anymore, because now I understand you have preconceived notions about me. And
Mhm.
you're just going to speak and move in what you think and feel. It has nothing to do with what I've said. It has nothing to do with what I've done. Therefore, I will let you have whatever idea of me that you have and keep it, because now you're dead wrong and now you don't know me.
Mhm. See, I'll speak to that because I'm usually like you, Kat. I will cut anybody the fuck off. I will, and you'll know that I did it too because either I will be blatant about it or I'll tell you. I got a planned cutoff come happening on New Year's Eve. It's like you're well aware. We got to count dead ass. We got a countdown. We got a whole plan on how we're gonna spend this
Somebody
last
not
year.
making it to
Fucking off.
2025.
I'm serious though.
You
I'm
have a
serious.
countdown
Is this
calendar
is this
on your
coming
social
out?
media.
Is this coming out in January?
Hey, after the fucking ball drops, so does that motherfucker. All right.
Well, damn.
But no, on a serious note, though, because at the end of the day, like for me, I've said this on numerous episodes. I say this all the time. Relationships with me, whether it be a friend, a family member, a lover, except for my son, they come with conditions. And if these conditions are no longer met, that means either my peace is being interrupted, or my energy is being spent in a way that it don't need to be spent, or I need to reclaim my time, whatever it is. So you gotta go because I'm always picking me. However, yeah, I can't cut everybody off and be okay. I had a situation with my brother, and I didn't talk to that nigga for almost a year. And me and my brother is like this. We even look a fucking like. You understand what I'm saying? I'm cuter because he's ugly, but the point still stands.
Can't tell him that shit.
And it bothered me a lot because I didn't have conversation with somebody I talk to all the time. I call him to tell him stupid jokes that he get pissed off because I'm cracking up at the corniest shit and he hang up on me. And I couldn't do that with my brother for a year. And it's like, oh, the stupid little thing. But it's like, if I'm not being able to do that with you, I'm not able to do anything with you. So I was the big person because I always have to be the bigger person in every situation. And I called him. And the first thing I said to him was, first of all, I want you to know that you're fucking ugly because I was uncomfortable having to do this. But I can't cut you off for life. I don't, in my heart, the way I feel, cutting you off is my mode of what I do, but I can't do that with you. So we had to have this conversation. And for me, I knew we never was going to agree. The reason why we didn't talk for a year, I knew we was not going to get a resolution on that. We were going to be at separate ends. I am not calling you because I need you to agree with me that we need to meet in the middle. Nope, that's not even a situation that we need to address anymore because quite frankly, it wasn't between me and you. It was too many outside factors. I'm calling you because I miss my brother and I want to have my brother back. So like in general, I stand pretty hard on my boundaries, but it's like there are certain times where you have to kind of evaluate what it is that you want most. And yeah, not talking to my brother didn't fuck with my self-esteem because it wasn't nothing to do with my image, but it did bother me on the inside. I wasn't settled right on the inside. I didn't like the way that felt. You know what I mean? It's just like, damn, he was here. My sister lives upstairs from me, and he was upstairs at my sister's house, and we ran into each other on the fucking steps in the summertime, and I didn't even speak. Like we grew up in the same house, and it may not fuck with my self-esteem or my confidence, but it fucked with my peace and my value system of who I am. That didn't go with it. So I think that it's not always a time where we can always cut people off without it being some type of like detrimental blowback to us. And for me,
and
that was
that's like, so in my instance, I just to provide some perspective, I was an only child and both my parents passed away. And I tell people, when you lose both your parents, no one else really matters that much, with the exception of my son. So outside of my son, everybody else is disposable or dispensable. Like everybody else can come and go. No one else really matters to that magnitude to me other than my child.
yeah.
So if you are a friend, you are a relative, an aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, nephew, at the end of the day, okay, will it hurt to let you go and detach and say, okay, I'm done, I'm cutting you off? Yes, but life goes on.
Yeah.
In that situation, it's different. That's your brother.
Right.
For me, I don't have any siblings.
Right.
My son is literally my only next of kin.
The world. The sun is the sun. I'm with you. Know I'm with you there. Goddamn it! I'll burn the world for my son. All you niggas can go. Not
Right. Like, that's my son he's the be all end all at this point. And if you're outside of that, I have no problem cutting you off if it's going to interfere in whatever I'm trying to achieve in my life. Because like you said, to what you said earlier, I'm always going to choose me.
Right. Right.
I think like
So go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, I think like to that point though, like I feel like I share all of those sentiments that were expressed, like, but mostly Melanie's because of the fact that like I don't think I've ever actually I take it back. I think mostly Melanie's because I don't think I've ever fully like I've stopped talking to people. Like I've given myself space to like walk through whatever it was that was like impairing me. Whether it was like energy suck or like this person made me feel bad multiple times and like I don't need them in my life. So like, you know, if that's a relationship, a romantic relationship more so than like a friendship, but like I've had it before where like I've had a friend or two do some like funny stuff. So then I move differently with them. It doesn't mean that like I don't ever want to talk to them again because I do really value those relationships because like those relationships that like I've put a lot of energy and investment into. So for me, I'm kind of like, okay, like a lot of, I would say like a lot of the people that I consider close friends are family to me. Like they are family, like point blank, like that's the end of the story for me. But I also am aware of like if I'm moving funny around someone, it's because they made me feel some type of way and I've probably already addressed it. So now we're in a space where like I either have to give you space to, well, give me space and get myself whole to be like, okay, like you and I, you know, like Drew said, like we exist still. There's a relationship there. Something exists, right? We don't know where exactly we are, but like you're not dead to me. I have to move differently with you now. Like you've affected how
Yeah.
I am interacting with my own life, whether it's like, and also part of that too is like if they impacted you in that way, like if not talking to your brother made you feel a type of way, that impacts so many other things because you're not moving the way you normally would. Like you're not moving at
Right.
100% now, you're moving at 80. And you're like, why
Right.
is that? And you're like, I have to now resolve the whole situation, which is unfair, but you're like, I'm not going to get back to being me without solving for this, since this is not going to move forward without me, you know?
Right. You see, I have an issue with that because I am not like you ever like be in a relationship with a guy? Sorry, Drew. I know you wasn't in a relationship with a guy, but even I guess maybe a girl, perhaps. But like as a woman, I can say, and I'm pretty sure everybody can understand this. Like you're in a relationship with a guy or talking to a guy too, you know, in that type of fashion, and then they do some shit, and you realize the way that you were with them. Oh, I need to pull back some. Like I can't do this. I fucking
Mm-hmm.
hate that because like why can't I just give all the stuff that I want to do? I don't want to have to measure the fucking water for things that come natural to me with you because you made me feel like it's getting too hot over there and now I'm getting burned. So for me, it's like what Drew was saying, what Kat was saying, that right there is like a cutoff. You know, that's a fucking cutoff because if I can't be all of me with you, then you get none of me. This is really a bipolar thing, all or nothing. There's no fucking gray area. There's no middle piece, nothing. However, the question I want to ask is just like, it's one thing to change the way that you behave with a person that, you know, shows you that you can't be everything or give whatever, you have to like adjust yourself or pull yourself back. But what about someone, and I guess this is probably especially relevant to romantic relationships, um, someone who's changed the way that you view yourself? Like, have
As,
you ever experienced that as far as it goes to like your self image, your self esteem, anything?
as soon as you have to change, as soon as you feel differently about yourself in a negative way because of a romantic relationship or situations a romantic relationship has put you in, that's a situationship. It's no longer like this thing that's supposed to be like feeding you. You're pouring into something that's not doing anything for you. All it's
But
doing
that's
is
kind of
taking
still like
away.
a title, though, right?
I
Like
mean,
that's
a
kind of
situ-
like a title, so it's like how you feel or view things is still going to be impacted whether you call the man your boyfriend, your friend, your ex, your fuck buddy, whatever you want to call him. It's still having the same impact on you. So it's like I'll say this: I don't have an issue with what I look like, right? But a long time ago, I dated a guy, and he was 5'6". Drew, you should be so proud of me. He was a tiny tot. He was 5'6", and young
That
girl
Tiny
was
phrase
tot.
right
crazy
the
about
fuck
it.
there is why
Not
I
a
can't.
tiny tot.
That phrase right the fuck there is why I cannot support this. You
What,
didn't.
tiny tot?
You wasted no time destroying the nigga. Damn.
He deserved it.
You had a moment to big him up for whatever reason it may be, but you had to drop the tiny tot shit in
Because
there. You had to.
my next words are not big him up words. Fuck him. Okay? He was
Then,
either way, whether he was the
then
best
don't
nigga
bring me
ever.
into this shit. Don't bring me.
If he
Then I ain't
was
got shit to be proud of.
It
Go
sounds
ahead.
like
Go
he
on.
was not
nigga
only.
ever, or the worst nigga, he was still a tiny tot. He was 5'6". Like we was the same height, but like my shoulders was higher than his, so we look weird in pictures together. It's weird, but that was my motherfucking baby. So there is chances for short kings. You got a whole woman family over there, like y'all winning.
But why
But that's
didn't
not
it
me.
work out? Because it's sounding like you're about to tell us a story where he was a small man and a small man.
Right. So that's exactly where I was going. The fucking little Lucifer over there got all upset. Sorry. I'm done. All right. I'm sorry.
Damn.
But listen.
See the shit we have to deal with
Shots
from her.
fired.
The shit we have to
Thank
deal
you.
with from her ass.
Off the top of my head. But no, the point that I'm making is I was with him, and him being small, I guess, is maybe a little relevant. I was not a big girl. I was not a big girl. I was like a size 8. You know what I mean? I was a little person. But I was with someone who was constantly commenting on my weight. And, he was always saying, like, oh, it was just stuff that he would say. I would be eating something. I remember one time this nigga recorded me. I didn't know he was recording me. I'm eating fucking oodles and noodles and I'm watching TV. Mad absent minded, right? And it's like, it's whatever. But then he sent the video to me like maybe a day or two or something later, and like a LOL thing. But it was one of those mean LOL things. And because you're always commenting on my body and my weight, you know what I mean? It's just like, and I think it was an envy thing, honestly, because then we went to the beach one time and he was pissed off because I was in a bathing suit. Make it make fucking sense. But that's not the point I'm making here. Even though he never made me feel bad about myself, I never felt like, oh my God, I'm so gross, I'm so fat, I'm so disgusting. He did help to change the way I viewed myself, because like when I look at my pictures now from then, it's like, dang, I always was trying to lose 10 or 15 pounds. It's like, where the fuck was I going to lose it from? But being with this person saying these things, while you may not be impacting me where I feel like, oh my God, I hate myself, you're still impacting the way that I view myself, because I'm spending most of my time with you. You're the one seeing me naked and being with me every day. And it's like, oh, I started to like internalize that shit, not even realizing it. And because I wasn't stressing about it, because I wasn't antagonizing over it, I didn't realize how my view of myself was being adjusted by the words of this person. That's why I said earlier, like, words really fucking matter. So that's why I'm kind of asking, like, does someone that you were with, whether it could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be someone that you dated or whatever, like, did they ever have a way where they changed the way you viewed yourself? And like, what does that play on your self-esteem?
Microaggressions
So,
transcend racial boundaries. If that man was talking to you and not speaking life into you and was just observing you and saying things that made you feel differently about yourself, those are still microaggressions. It wasn't like he was outwardly being like, you're fat, like, because you weren't. Like
that.
So, and then you being in a swimsuit is a perfect example of like it's like insecurity about himself.
Yes, it was insecurity because he was short and unconventionally unattractive.
You're like, I'm with you because I like you, and you're with me because of how you because like you were adding value to him, and he was like almost like devalue. Like, I don't really.
in the same process of him trying to devalue her.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like he kind of was pissed off that you wanted somebody who looked good in your eyes, and then it was mad that you was with somebody who looked good and you couldn't beat me down. I couldn't be a good looking idiot for you. It was like, oh no, I'm everything that you thought I was, and I'm never going to be different. And it didn't work for him. You know what I mean? So I know what he was doing.
Yeah,
It's never that. It's never that, though. In all honesty, what it is that he wanted someone attractive, got somebody attractive, and then realized I may not be able to maintain this.
Because
So the
all
best
niggas
thing
can't
he
handle a bad bitch.
so the best thing he could do was kill your confidence in yourself for you to feel like he was all you deserved.
And it didn't work.
But that's not going to stop his attempt.
Not at
It's
all.
never going to stop the. It's never going to stop the attempt.
Yeah.
But it can happen both ways because unfortunately, I was in a relationship like that long time ago. But it wasn't so much what she said versus what she did not say. And Lonnie, like you said, she was dealing with somebody who he just would not speak life into her. I was in a relationship with a girl who honestly, you couldn't pay that girl to give me a compliment. You absolutely could not. And it wasn't the fact that she didn't, it was the fact that what she did in converse to it. We could be in as much of a relationship as we said we could have been, but Shorty, I watched where your eyes went. I watched how you behaved. I watched when you cheated. And it was your nonverbals that told me a lot. It was your nonverbals and where you went and the things that you chose to do that let me know how you really viewed me. And that was my takeaway. Here we are 15 years later. Mel, we've talked about this. And no, I was not being mean to that girl. It was literally, it wasn't payback. It was, unfortunately, her behavior in our relationship, yes, caused me to look at myself differently, even caused me to treat myself differently. Now I began to treat myself better. And now I walk around with a confidence that she didn't know how to deal with. And she told me straight to my face, I don't know if I can deal with this, Drew. No, because you were used to a Drew who was literally fighting for your affection, pleading for your attention. I don't give a fuck anymore. And that was a very different contrast for her, but she never understood. It was never what you said to me. It was always the way you responded. Never what you said. It was what you didn't say that told me everything I needed to know.
Well, also it's that thing, right? That people say that it's the people aren't going to remember like the things you necessarily say, but it's how you made them feel, right? Like the things you did, like that stuff carries a lot of weight, a lot of weight.
And it was hard for her 15 years later to think that that weight still wasn't carried. That weight was a very defining factor for why I became who I became. But she didn't realize that she was a defining factor for it because it all happened after we ended. She went off into another relationship. I lived my life. And here we were 15 years later after that said relationship ended. She showed back up and it was like, I don't even know who this person is anymore. And I'm like, yes, because honestly, you kind of left me for dead. Granted, I was the person that ended that relationship. At one point, I finally just stood up and said, I'm not staying here anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. And she supposedly said she wanted the relationship back. I don't remember that. But when she came back all these years later, it was like, oh, well, I remember this about you and I remember that about you. Those parts about me very much so do still exist, but you no longer have access to them. Those parts of me were, like you were saying earlier, I couldn't, we don't gauge who we are ourselves. I don't gauge myself when I interact with other people. I am myself, 100% full fledged. I'm going to give you what I have, or you get no parts of me. You got all of me for a very long time. Now I've learned how to gauge myself. Not everybody has that access to me like that. Most people, you get a very generous portion of me, but there are still parts of me that are reserved for specific people. And that was what she wanted to get access back to. But she didn't realize there is now a wall here. We've created a barrier because I got tired of the way that you made me feel. I got tired of the way that our relationship went. I got tired of the way that I was thinking about myself, all off of the things that we did. And all those adjustments came for me. Now I'm in a position where, one, I don't give a fuck how you think. I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. I know who I am, and I am secure in that. And as much as you love that confidence in me, you can't pay the price. You don't want to pay the price for how you once made me feel because you still treated me the same way. So you got a different response. You didn't get the same old Drew. You got a new one. And you didn't know how to deal with this one because you had never seen that.
Are
And
you
that's
saying?
completely okay for me.
But are you saying that like she changed and came back? Or are you saying she approached you the same way
Hell
she had
no.
always approached you?
I changed. She came back with the same bullshit.
Gotcha. Okay.
I changed.
All right.
So let me ask a question. Just so with her, or with you saying, like, oh, I don't give a fuck anymore. Do you feel like, and not just for Drew, just for anybody, like, do you feel like saying shit like that to get to the point where you have this confidence now was one of those like fake it till you make it type things? Like, did you start off saying like, I don't give a fuck? Because everybody says I don't give a fuck, right? I don't care what nobody think. That's not true. A lot of our validation for where we come from is from external factors. But do you feel like it got to the point was like you said it and then it started to slowly become a reality so that you, because language matters and it does influence things, you said it enough to when it became true? Or do you feel like you legit just never gave a fuck at that point?
For me, I had to learn how to not give a fuck. For the longest, I did care what other people thought. Other people's opinions did affect me. I had to learn to not give a fuck. I couldn't say I don't give a fuck until I knew what it felt like truly to not give a fuck.
Mm.
Like, there's parts of my brain that would not shut off. And constantly it was, okay, what is this? Or what's that possibility? Like, my brain still has many of these conversations. They
Mm.
just don't carry the weight that they once did anymore. And now I can wholeheartedly stand there and say, I know these conversations are happening, but regardless of the conversation, there will be no conclusion. So I truly don't give a fuck.
Well, but
Okay.
like, do you carry over? Like, I don't even know if this is like fully on topic anymore. Now I'm curious. Does, does like that part, like the self-esteem part of it, does that carry over to both your romantic and because you say like if you don't give a like you can not give a fucking relationship all day, but at the very end of the day, you have to give some fucks. So like, does it carry over into like friendships and family relationship, familial relationships, or is it just when it comes to like your romantic relationships where you have that hard line of like, I don't give a fuck, like this
Oh,
is
no.
what you get.
That has definitely carried over to family and friends at this point.
Okay.
Because for me, I've just gotten to a point where I've learned, and like Kat had said earlier, I'm the person that has to live in this skin. I'm the person that has to live this life. If I'm okay with it, why do I care whether you are or you're not?
There you go.
Your
There you
point of view, you have no effect on whether I live this life or not. I'm still required to live this life. So I'm only focused on my opinion in it.
Okay, so I think we lost Kat.
For
I think
sure,
she's
for
having
sure.
some technical difficulties. But I wanna ask one last question before we wrap this up. And since Drew's been being drilled, I'm gonna direct it at Lonnie, but feel free to chime in. Do you feel like you need to be doing something to feel purposeful?
I mean, isn't
Um,
that
What? What was you
like
saying?
you're
Isn't
saying,
it
like
what?
doing something rather than just being. Like,
Yeah,
do I need to
like
have like a goal?
Kat said when she first started when we first started this, she said her doing her nonprofit, like now she had a purpose, that helped her build her confidence and she felt more comfortable, like she's got something that she's pouring into. Do
I
you feel like you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think if I didn't have dance, which is something that I pour a lot of energy into, I'm good at it.
Mhm.
And I pour a lot of energy into it when I'm doing it. Um, I think if I didn't have that and I didn't have like these other things that I'm super passionate about, whether it's like a nonprofit I
Mhm.
work with, whatever the case it is, I think if you
Mm.
don't have a purpose, you are constantly seeking something that might not be achievable because there isn't a goal. Like there's a lot of stuff that like we internalize and have like maybe personal goals for, but I do think you have to
Mhm.
have something that's a little bit beyond yourself. Um, and my, sense of team and my sense of like strength effectively, which has shaped my confidence through, and that was like through dance. I think all of that comes from having things that give me purpose, that give me momentum, that give me energy, that get me like excited to like do things. Yeah, I mean like and giving back, like I like there's several things for me that like I would say give me purpose. And like the contrast to that is I've dated a lot of people that like say they've got a lot of stuff going on and then we date and then they realize I have a lot of stuff going on and they didn't have a perspective of like what a lot of stuff going on is like beyond
Right.
themselves.
Right.
Um and so that becomes a conflict. But I also think I've had the similar scenario where someone's super busy and they have a lot of stuff going on, but like all they wanted was to get married and have kids. Like they didn't find purpose in what it is that they were doing. They were just doing things to get by, which was an
Right.
interesting thing for me, like to notice about somebody else that I'm like dating, you know, like you spend a lot of time with that person and you're thinking that like those goals are going like your you know value systems and all this kind of stuff is going to align, and for whatever reason it doesn't, but it's also because we were both have similar values but our sense of purpose come from very different things.
Hmm. What about you, Drew? Because I feel like you were saying no at first, and I would love to hear that view if that's what you were doing.
I mean, I do agree, but some people's purpose is to be. Like I said, like you have some people who are out in life and striving for a number of things, but yet they still don't feel like they're fulfilling their purpose because they may feel like their purpose is to be married with a family, raising children. Like I can be striving for all of this, but I'm not filling up that bucket for myself. I feel like, it's only when you do feel like you're serving something that is serving you at the same time. Like I didn't, there were so many things that I wanted to do in this world prior to me realizing that my biggest goal in this world was truly helping people. And it's not, oh, I want to help people in this field or I just want to help people in this field. I just want to help people feel better about things that they've already decided to do. Like I've always said, as long as you're not bringing harm to yourself or the rest of the world, I low key support almost any idea. But I want to help people find that confidence in themselves that I didn't always necessarily have. I've always been to people around me the voice that I never heard, and I like to help people in moments like that. Like Mel, you heard me when I'm at work, when I'm talking to some of my students, and it's like I want to help reassure them in things that they feel unsure about. And to me it helps fulfill a purpose because sometimes you don't realize it, like you don't have a cheerleader in your corner. You don't have somebody there for you. That somebody can be an absolute stranger, and sometimes you just want to hear one voice that is just still pushing you on. And for a long time I grew up without that voice. I enjoy being that voice to other people. So to me, I realized that's a purpose for me because I have a natural knack for it, and it does feed me on the inside when I do that for someone else. So for me, that so it's not necessarily, oh, I have a goal in mind that I'm striving for. I do feel like in this position, my purpose truly is sometimes just being there for those who don't even realize they needed somebody to be there.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm kind of like on an agreement with like both of you there because like I think sometimes we don't give enough credit to the fact that like existing is a thing. Like we can just sit and be sometimes. However, like in me personally, like I've got too much potential to be anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm very talented. I'm very active. I've got all these things I can speak to myself and I truly believe them that it's like if I sat around just existing, it's like, girl, you got all this fucking potential and you're just gonna waste it. But I do need to be doing something. I like variety. It's the spice of life. You know what I mean? Like I see something, oh, I want to learn to do that. And then all of a sudden I got all the materials to go and do it. And now I'm trying it. You know what I mean? And I believe like that's part of a purpose there. Like, of course, now I have purpose because of certain things in society, and I'm a mother, so there's no matter what, I've got something I've got to do regardless of myself, and no, it's not a question. You understand what I'm saying? But do I think if I didn't do anything, do I feel like if I didn't have a purpose, would it affect the way that I view myself? Yeah, I think it does. Because I think part of the reason why I have such a high estimation of myself is because my belief that I can always count on me. My belief that no matter what, I'm going to get this shit done for me and I'm always going to be able to come out on top because I know that I can. That's unwavering. If I had nothing to put that towards, how can that be there? How can that exist? How can that be unwavering? So for me, it's kind of like my purpose is definitely it's reaching the potentials of all the things that I want to do. It's not necessarily a goal, but it's definitely not something stagnant. I can't just sit here and exist the end. I need to exist and fill in the blank. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it is. I would definitely be like probably more withdrawn, more in the house, more probably depressed. And I don't really even believe in depression for myself. if I couldn't do things, and that would be like fulfilling my purpose, because that's who I am. That's how I value myself. That's how I estimate myself. You know what I mean?
I think it's like a closed loop system. Like if you there was like I forgot what show it was on. It was like a forever ago, but it was just like there's no such thing as like a like selfless act. I think besides like
Mm,
because at the end of the day you're always getting something out of something. So and like that's the thing, like your self-esteem comes from those parts. Like you find purpose in this. You know that you're talented and that's all feeding itself. It's like it's entirely like a closed loop. Like I volunteer
right.
because it makes me feel good, but it's also serving a purpose and helping other people. Like the intended
Yeah.
outcome wasn't for me to feel better, but I feel great while I'm doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, and then that, it's like your dopamine boost, self-esteem,
Mhm.
savor, those things that you have to do for yourself in order to like recenter.
Yeah, yeah. I think we could end this by saying, when it comes to self esteem, always remember it is self esteem. And I think if we take the time to get to know ourselves and be honest about who we are, we can find it within ourselves to always feel the way that we desire to feel from the inside. All of these other influences are going to come. We're going to have the media, the friends, the family, these experiences. But if you have an unwavering sense of who you are, you're already ahead of the game. Like my child is 9 years old, and since he's been 2 and able to comprehend, I've been speaking certain things into him. So because he's a young man, he's got long locks, he's dark skinned, you know what I mean? Kids are dickheads, and he is not going to be an exception when it comes to who they're going to pick on just because he's my son. So I know they're going to say certain things about him, but you know what he's not going to do? He's not going to go home and start hating his dark skin and his big, beautiful brown eyes because some fuckhead little kid whose mother didn't do her job said something negative about him. He's not going to come home and internalize that because you have such a shield built up from all these things that you already have in yourself. You have such a high estimation without understanding what that phrase means, because I did my job. And I think as adults, we need to do that for ourselves and sometimes for others too, who maybe aren't on our level. And then we can all kumbaya.
If
Like
you ever
those
need to
things.
get gassed up, call Melanie.
No, exactly, just a little bit.
Or a
But
reality check, which
but I think on that note, we're pushing our time. And thank you, Kat, wherever you went. Lonnie, Drew, thank you. It's been a great conversation.
All
Um,
right.
changes coming to the podcast soon. Please stay tuned. And probably for one of the last times, we're coming to you from the group chat to the podcast. Oh, look, I didn't even take my top off. We'll never get that right. But yes, please like, follow, share, and subscribe. We are on YouTube at Related Conversations. We're on TikTok at Related Conversations. If they keep TikTok, please. I love TikTok. And we're on Instagram at Related Conversations Podcast. Please tune in. We post most Fridays. That's also going to be one of the changes that we're going to be making. But please stay tuned. We got a couple more episodes that we're going to be streaming before any changes. We'll see you next time. Thank you.